Hey everybody, and welcome to Crossing Kin and the very warm Crossing Kin Garage. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Randy. Be expecting to see us in different parts of Crossing Kin Land very, very soon.
It might be Crossing Kin car with the air conditioner on full blast before all's said and done, but the garage might be closed for the remainder of the summer shoots.
Except for the remodel that I've got to absolutely do in this place.
All right, so today we're doing something a little bit different. Rather than a top 10 or a ranking,
Or recast it.
or recast it, we're just kind of going to have a conversation about a topic that seems, for want of a better term, divisive in today's modern Hollywood zeitgeist.
And one of the things, that's a really good word.
Thank you.
Wow, what does it mean?
List,
Okay.
I think. Give us the definition of zeitgeist down in the comments below.
Okay, that's one of those new hipster type words that I'm familiar with, but I'm like, wow, she just pulls that one out. This is what we do when we're in the car going anywhere for any length of distance, and that's what I was going to say. This is just pretty much typical a planning session for Crossing Kin. So, welcome. We're glad that you're here.
Today, we are going to be discussing the Disney live action remakes and our opinions on them. Now, please note, we cannot speak to films that we have not seen. We've seen a few of the live action remakes, but not all of them. Also, we are only really going to discuss the films that are straight up remakes of the classic Disney fare. So, Maleficent, Cruella, the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland films, those do not count for this conversation because they are sequels, prequels from a different perspective. So just that is kind of our rule. Also, we're not really going to talk about the original 101 Dalmatians live action remake with Glenn Close. It's a pretty decent movie, but it's not in the vein of what we are going to be talking about today.
Let's face it, since 1938, when Snow White came out, Disney is at its best when it does animated pictures. And let's face it also, some of the highest grossing films that they have ever done have been off of classic fairy tales. I will, as an older person, confess to you some of the newer offerings that Disney has had. Their partnership with Pixar was kind of cool, but some of the newer stuff that they're putting out there, I've not really seen because I've not wanted to go and see them. As a kid, the reissue of Snow White to the theaters, the reissue of Robin Hood to the theaters, the reissue of any of the animated classics. I'd play sick Sunday nights from church so I could watch Winnie the Pooh,
on Wonderful World of
on
Disney.
the Wonderful World of Disney when they would bring
those.
the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh to the screen. Disney really is at its best when it does animated classics or something like The Love Bug, the computer wore tennis shoes.
National Treasure.
National Treasure. There's just a distinction when Disney decides that it wants to do animation versus live action.
So when they chose to start turning their, let's be honest, their Renaissance animations into live action, people weren't thrilled.
Well, also because Disney is such a well-loved brand, it smacks a little bit of greed. And
double dipping.
Maybe even a sense of laziness to a certain extent that you can't come up with creative new tales. Now, they proved that they could come up with creative new tales. The Great Mouse Detective was a creative new tale. Fox and the Hound was a creative new tale.
While, yes, they may have been based on previously existing stories, they did take them and did their own thing with them.
They Disney-fied them.
They were nowhere near by the book of those originals.
And there are still a myriad of stories out there that need the Disney magic. We are fans. Please don't get us wrong. We are fans of Disney, but we really think that Disney needs to live action or animated. And their personal opinion.
Let's be real. Moana is a newer Disney film, and it was really good. To my knowledge, it's not really based on any fairy tale unless it's from a Polynesian folk tale. So that it was great. But they've not really done anything that good since Moana, in my opinion. Now, like Dad was saying, this is not us being angry at Disney. We
Right.
are not here to be mad at Disney. We're just kind of here to offer our opinions on what these live action remakes are to us and maybe offer an idea of what Disney could do with them going forward.
Sure.
There are a ton of live action remakes on the horizon, and I'll be honest, the promos I've seen of them, they don't look good.
Now, here's a couple of things that we do want to qualify. This is not a diss on the actors or
No.
actresses who
Oh,
portray
please,
these
no.
great classic characters. We think these guys are doing the very, very best that they can do
With what they were given.
with what they were given. But
And the
I have
directing they were
said
given.
it before here in the Crossing King Garage, and Kristen accuses this of getting to be cliche.
Take your bingo cards out.
The cover is never as good as the original.
And now that we've fulfilled our Crossing Kid bingo card, let us begin. So let me first start with saying what live action remakes Dad and I have actually seen.
Sure.
Dad has seen The Jungle Book. He has seen Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. I have seen those three films with him. He and I went to the theaters to see those three. And then I have seen by myself on Disney Plus, Lion King and what's Little Mermaid. So let's break that down a little bit. Of those five, oh, four of them, I think, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Lion King, those are all Renaissance films. Yeah?
Jungle Book is not a Renaissance?
Jungle
Okay.
Book is from the 60s. It's a Silver Age film.
In my personal opinion, as far as casting goes, Bill Murray as Baloo was probably the best of any of the five that we've seen.
I agree. The casting is never awful,
Right.
in my opinion. Everybody got super mad about a lot of the casting, particularly for The Little Mermaid.
Sure
Let's
did.
just be honest
Yeah.
about that. I've seen The Little Mermaid. My issue is not with the color of her skin, as far as The Little Mermaid goes. I actually think her voice was good enough to be like, okay, yeah, be Ariel all day long. She has a beautiful voice, gorgeous, gorgeous voice. But she comes off too mature to be saying Ariel's lines. Does that make sense?
Now, Kristen has seen more of the animated or live action remakes of these animated films, and she has a broader sense of that. I will, however, I will stand by it. Get your bingo cards out again. The cover is never as good as the original.
But anyway, let's stick with Little Mermaid for just
a
minute.
Okay, Little Mermaid. I haven't seen it.
Melissa McCarthy does a great job as Ursula.
Casting, again, we've said that.
Casting wise, not the issue.
Yeah.
I personally think Emma Watson, really good Belle. Mina Massoud, I think he was a great Aladdin. Will Smith actually did pretty decent as the genie. I was scared to death of him as the genie. I'll be perfectly honest. I was not about that casting. I thought Jack Black, Hugh Jackman, anybody else would have been good. Will Smith won me over. He did not do a bad job.
But when you have Robin Williams to try and live up to,
and that becomes the issue.
Right.
You are always going to be comparing them to the voice actor.
There's the problem. The comparison.
Yes.
There is the problem. Therein lies why I don't think you should do these live action remakes, personally, Disney, because number one, you've got a creative team who are creative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't be going back to the woodshed, so to speak. But there is always going to be comparison. Always, regardless of what film you do, there will always be those people out there who don't think it's ever going to be as good as original, who don't think your casting is going to ever be good. Now, Chris and I, we agree. Casting wise is not the issue. It's whether you should be doing it in the first place or not.
And let's talk about that a little bit. Let's specifically go with The Lion King for this conversation. Again, yeah. I know you've not seen it, but I've told you bits and pieces about it. Okay. When you think of go ahead.
Yeah. The Lion King was prolific enough that it got its own 1.5 sequel, its own sequel,
direct to video,
its own television show,
Timon and Pumbaa,
its own
Broadway musical.
It's another television show. Lion Guard, right.
Lion Guard's actually really good.
And so, I mean, there's 5 properties right there that you have milked off of the one film. Not to mention
computer games, board games, shirts, mugs, like all the merchandise.
And I get
it. Toys.
It's about making money. It's about profitability. I get that Disney is a business. But from our perspective, the entertainment side is
Mhm.
where you need to really, really look.
Animated is still making money. The Broadway
Sure.
show is still running, and I doubt it will ever stop running. Lion King is still making money. This live action remake, and again, nothing against the voice cast. The voice cast in this was amazing. Lion King live action is photorealistic. There is not a single I think there's one live action shot in this whole movie.
Wow. Everything else computer generated?
Everything else
Wow.
is computer generated. The
So it's not really a
voiceovers,
live action film.
yeah, but it's as close to a live action remake as we're gonna get. So
Right, right.
everybody counts it in the live action
Sure.
remake vein. Now, when you think of Lion King, you think of the music, the music. Like that's the first thing that pops into your head. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's look at kind of the soundtrack here. What are you doing?
I was Circle of Lifing it.
Oh, you were Simba.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, Circle of Life. That is a decent translation because I think they got the original singer to come in and do Circle of Life. Just redo it,
Gotcha.
re-record it.
Right.
I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Not bad. The kid that plays young Simba does not do a bad job with I Just Can't Wait to Be King. The first two songs are not bad. Then we get into Be Prepared. Now, I have said before, Be Prepared is one of my favorite villain songs.
It is one of the creepiest songs in Disney lore.
Terrifying. It is, but it is an epic set piece. Would you agree?
I would agree. Yes, absolutely.
Be Prepared is so darkly lit you cannot see Scar or the hyenas, and it is done as a spoken word. It is not sung. It is also shrunk from 3 minutes ish to a minute and a half. And what's worse, they said, like in an interview or something, the actor claimed that the reason it was like this is because he couldn't sing. Well, they let him sing at the end, like they do let him do the "be prepared" that bit. He sounds perfect. He sounds just like Jeremy Irons slash Jim, not Jim. Voice of Winnie the Pooh. Cummings. Jim Cummings. It is Jim. Because he had to sub in for Jeremy Irons when Jeremy Irons threw out his voice. He sounds just like him. And so I'm sitting there like, wait, why are we doing it like this when you can very clearly sing? And I'm just like, why did you take the teeth out of one of the best set pieces in the movie?
As you can see,
It
Kristen
made me
has some
mad.
very, very passionate
Clearly, it
opinions.
made me mad when they did that. Again, one of my favorite set pieces in a Disney movie. It's
Right.
not necessarily that the song was undone, because I think we'd agree it's not the best villain song, but it is up there. But anyway, after Be Prepared, we go to Hakuna Matata. Now, while Hakuna Matata is done exactly like it is in the original, minus all the beautiful colors, because for whatever reason, all the color is drained out of this movie. The colors are specifically gray, beige, brown, and all the brown shades. Like, there is no color in this film. It is so weird.
You're not making me want to see it.
No, I'm aware. I don't want you to have to see it.
Okay, good. Got enough on my plate.
Yeah, he has a lot on his watch list. But anyway, Seth Rogen plays Pumbaa.
That's not bad casting.
That's not bad casting for speaking. For singing,
voiceovers. I mean,
it's not grand, and because it's a voiceover, they could have dubbed him a little bit. Because he is trying to sing, and I can hear the auto tune on him. And Pumbaa, actually, of the two of them, I think has a better singing voice. Ernie
Cimbella.
Thank you. Had almost a deep operatic almost voice to me, and it's just, that's weird. And then the last thing, I promise. Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Let me repeat that title. Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
I know where she's going with this one.
Is set at 1:00 in the afternoon. The sun is shining bright. It does not even begin to set by the time we get to the end of this song.
They're going to have to wait to feel the love tonight.
Donald Glover and Beyonce do a great job singing this song. Honestly, it's lovely. taken out of the moment completely because they're going, can you feel the love tonight?
When rather you'd have, I'm walking on sunshine. Yeah, yeah.
Sun is so bright, there is no night
Okay,
anywhere.
so here's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes.
The Lion King is probably your least favorite of
Absolutely.
all of the live
Absolutely.
action remakes.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Of the ones we've seen. Again, we've not seen Cinderella or Dumbo, which are probably the ones that could also be considered in our direct remake list.
And we like Tim Burton, but that storyline creeps me out to begin with.
Dumbo was at the bottom of both of our Disney rankings. See the card above our heads. I'll link them both at some point during this video. But yeah, and I've heard good things about Cinderella. I really have, but I think they took Cinderella is one of those. It's been done 5 zillion times, and they weren't going to do anything new with it. Let's just be honest. Other than casting Helena Bonham Carter as the fairy godmother, there was nothing that really made me want to go see.
Yeah, great
Cinderella.
casting. I mean, that is not ever our issue. The actors and actresses who are parts of these films.
Yeah,
it is directors. It's writers. It's
what's so weird is that Jon
CEOs.
Favreau is who directed Lion King and Jungle Book. And I don't know how Jon Favreau managed to make The Lion King, which is a genuine epic story, so freaking boring.
Okay.
And suck all the life out of it. That's my issue.
Okay.
There.
Mr. Favreau, stick with Marvel.
Stick with Marvel and Star Wars.
Yes.
But anyway, moving on from Lion King, you talked about Jungle Book. Now we both agree that Jungle Book is pretty decent.
Jungle Book is of the offerings that we've seen. I would say it's probably the strongest, even better than Beauty and the Beast.
I agree.
I think Beauty and the Beast just gets annoying before it's all said and done.
I agree.
And you just go back and check out again Bill Murray as Baloo. Absolutely brilliant.
Bill Murray as Baloo, Ben Kingsley as Bagheera.
Right. Yes.
And Scarlett Johansson as Kaw. I mentioned before, Kaw freaked me out as a child.
Sinister in this. Absolutely sinister.
She's Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
In her lowest register.
Yeah.
Talking very peacefully. And do you want to tell them what they did with Trust in Me?
No.
He doesn't.
Go watch it. Just go watch it.
Look up on YouTube Trust in Me live action Jungle Book. And you
Scarlett
will see,
Johansson.
Yeah, Trust in Me, Scarlett Johansson. And you will see what they did with Trust in Me. That song scared me as a kid. It scares me more now.
And that's one of those things.
The only thing with Jungle Book that I didn't necessarily like is Christopher Walken as King Louie.
Okay, Christopher Walken should bother you regardless of the role that he's in. Great actor. Great. Oh, don't get me wrong. I love him as an actor, but he has a type. I mean, he's just got a type. Let's face it.
He isn't creepy.
No.
The character of King Louie isn't creepy. He is laid back, chill, jazz loving orangutan. That is not how he is portrayed in live action Jungle Book.
Much more sinister.
Huge. He is a villain. He is a straight up villain. And I Want to Be Like You is also kind of done in a spoken word, mostly because Christopher Walken can't sing. See live action Peter Pan on NBC for that. But we also haven't seen Peter Pan and Wendy, which I think is the live action Peter Pan that just came out. I forget how many of these there are. Pinocchio, that's another one we haven't seen because they're going straight to Disney Plus because Disney knows they're not going to make the box office.
If you want to see a show about Peter Pan, go watch Finding Neverland with Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Much better film.
I agree.
Much better film.
Yes.
Incredible. We love it.
Anyway, yeah, Christopher Walken as King Louie is probably the only misstep as far as Jungle Book goes, but the rest of it, the plot points they brought in because they obviously had to change it up just so that it wasn't quite so episodic in it. Like Mowgli goes missing, Baloo and Bagheera have to find him. Mowgli goes missing, Baloo and Bagheera. Like that's kind of the basic of the Jungle Book, despite it being your favorite Disney movie. Wasn't it your number one?
It was up there. Yeah.
But I love the plot points they added, and Idris Elba as Shere Khan.
Absolutely brilliant.
That.
Yeah.
And I also do appreciate that they went back to the book in that they kept the original ending from the book, whereas the original cartoon veered away.
And that's one of those things that Disney did a very, very good job of back in the day. They would take these terrible, and I mean terrible, not in the vein of its
Not
writing.
safe for children.
Well, not safe for children, but the hero doesn't ride off into the sunset kind of ending
Mm-hmm.
fairy tales, and they would Disneyfy them, and they would make them precious moments almost kind of endings,
You would
which
make them
we
good at the end.
fell in love with as kids.
So let's briefly talk about Aladdin and Beauty and the
Okay,
Beast.
Aladdin.
Those are probably more of the mid range. They're fine for what they are, but what they are isn't very much, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I do appreciate that in Aladdin in particular, Naomi Scott, who plays Jasmine, got a song. I appreciate that Jasmine got a song.
Yes.
And while that song literally leads to nothing, it is literally just there. It's a beautiful song. The
And
song Speechless is beautiful, but it doesn't serve a point in the plot.
and what you're telling me from The Lion King lacking in color,
Mm-hmm.
Aladdin made up
Oh
for
my
it
goodness, Aladdin
in
was so
stars.
vibrant.
It was, I mean, from Will Smith being blue to, just all of the Prince Ali.
Yes, the Prince of Lee procession was
It was
beautifully done.
absolutely, and we understand that a lot of it's computer generated. So I
Mm.
mean, we're one step away from animation to begin with. But in a live action setting, Aladdin really, really did a fair job. And the vizier,
Yes, Jafar.
Jafar, was menacing.
Mm-hmm. He lost a little bit of his crazy charm in
That's true.
it.
Yeah.
He was a little flatter, but they made up for it with the Sultan and the Handmaid. The Handmaid was an addition, and I actually really liked her.
Yeah.
And the genie's little side point. Like I liked some of the additions they added to Aladdin.
Right.
And again, I was scared of Will Smith playing the genie. I didn't think he was going to be able to carry the tune because I'd only known him as a rapper. I'd never heard him try to Broadway sing.
He has a good voice.
He has a decent
He does
voice.
have a good voice.
There may be a little bit of auto tune going on with him, but that's something that all of these live action remakes unfortunately suffer from. And I think, but honestly, I don't think they used it on Will Smith as much as they used it on Aladdin.
Right.
On Mina Masood. And don't get me wrong, I think Mina Masood has a decent voice. But when he tried to hold a note for too long, I could kind of hear
wavering.
I could kind of hear it. And a lot of the songs, especially One Jump.
Okay.
The marketplace song, and now what is
Street
One
Rap.
Jump? He talk sings.
Yeah.
Through a lot of that song. It sounds like to me. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a vocal teacher, I'm definitely not. So if you're a vocal teacher and I'm completely off base there, please gently correct me in the comments. These are just my perspectives. And kind of the same goes with Beauty and the Beast. They have a bunch of powerhouse singers in Beauty and the Beast. Do not get me wrong.
And again, the colors were vibrant.
Yes,
in Beauty and the Beast.
Reds
it was
especially.
There was just a richness that played into Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast both as almost accessory characters. They were beautifully not animated.
Beautifully filmed.
They were beautifully filmed and generated. Absolutely.
And the special effects used definitely enhanced. Now, again, like I said, Beauty and the Beast, powerhouse singers. Ewan McGregor, who I think has done West End. I know he did a musical previously with Nicole Kidman. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge, yeah.
Moulin Rouge. Emma Thompson, who has done a concert version of Sweeney Todd. Go find that on YouTube. It's a trip and a half to watch. Kevin Kline, Disney minorly redeemed itself from not letting Kevin Kline sing in the original Hunchback of Notre Dame by making him Maurice and giving Maurice a song. The issue here is that song is only 1 minute long, and it is the only time Kevin Kline gets to sing.
We like Kevin Kline here in the Crossing King Garage.
Do.
And as an actor, I think he would be phenomenal in a I just lost the film.
Well, I cast him as Grandpa in our Chitty Chitty Bang Bang live action
remake. That's right. So we like Kevin Kline. If it's a musical, hey Disney, you could write a brand spanking new musical with Kevin Kline as the star, and we'd be there. We'd see
it very happily.
We'd be there.
But like I said, Kevin Kline, Emma Thompson, Ewan McGregor, and to a slightly lesser extent, Ian McKellen, and Josh Gad, and Luke Evans. Luke Evans, who plays Gaston.
Right.
All great singers. No notes there. Y'all did a great job casting there. But I have this against you. Dan Stevens, I think, does have a good voice. But here's the problem. Because Beast had to be garbled the voice had to be given beast mode voice, basically. They made his song also in beast mode. So I can't really give a fair assessment of Dan Stevens' voice because I've never actually heard Dan Stevens' proper singing voice.
Right.
And that's made a little bit worse by the fact that Josh Groban got to cover the song as a credit song, and he's Josh Groban.
What the first question in my mind is, why would you ever have a Grammy Award winner do an end title of one of your songs?
Songs. Song written for this movie. I don't think it's the Beast song from the Broadway show.
Just
It was written for the movie, and it was going to be Dan Stevens' number, and they beast moded his voice because he had to have the garble. And I'm like, this could have been a moment where it could have been internal, and could have been his voice in his own head as he's watching Belle go,
right.
and it would have had the same impact as him actually singing. And the only other issue I have is Emma Watson's singing voice. Like I said, I think she is perfectly cast as Belle.
Absolutely.
Absolutely perfectly cast as Belle. I personally think Emma Watson is a very good actress. I know some people don't love her in anything outside of Harry Potter. I think she's good in everything I have seen her in. Little Women and this, I think she's great. But she herself has admitted she only had like 2 weeks to start vocal training. It's kind of a Gerard Butler and Phantom of the Opera situation. I can't be mad at her because of the clear auto tune on her voice.
Yeah.
I cannot be mad at her for her not being Paige O'Hare, who is the original voice of Belle, in this movie, because that's not where she grew up. She grew up at Hogwarts.
Right.
She did not grow up singing. So I have nothing against Emma Watson. It is very clear that Disney chose to auto-tune her. And I don't know if that was the correct choice.
Well,
in this case.
In that particular case. So what we're saying here is, in the universe of live action remakes for Disney classics, okay, those would be films probably Lilo and Stitch is getting a modern day.
Yeah, Lilo and Stitch.
Why?
Here, can I kind of run down the list of
Yeah,
the
please.
stuff that is confirmed to be getting a
First
live
of all,
action
let's
remake
recap.
here?
We're not fans of the live action.
No.
Okay,
no.
we're just not. There have been some
are fine, but fine is the highest compliment they go.
Fine seems to be a low bar for Disney.
Yes.
Disney, we expect
excellent.
There's an excellence level that you have set with all of these classic films that if you continue to do these remakes, you're always going to suffer from it getting compared to the original.
And the originals are basically perfect. So
casting wise, we love whoever's doing your casting. Your casting director.
Your casting director needs to be paid more.
Absolutely, but we just, some of them.
Bring the life that was given to the animation. If you're gonna keep making these live actions, bring the life from the animation to the live action. It is so clear that these animated films were made with love and heart and just a genuine passion about it.
You need a Disney Imagineer as the director.
These live actions do not seem to be made with that same level of passion.
That's a good point.
They seem to be made with, oh, this is just this, let's copy paste and make it a little bit like this, take some of the color out, throw a popular star who's really hot right now as the lead. There you go, we're good, let's rake in our billions.
We've looked at those box office.
Like that.
Yeah, we've looked at those box office numbers. Disney, you're not making billions off the remakes.
And while yes, some are definitely making their money back because people are curious. But when you look at their reviews after, I don't see many above 6 stars.
And they're not the films that people stream.
No,
they're looking for original content. And I think we've kind of kicked that dead horse. So, recap, we're not fans of the animated films. All of this 30 minutes that we've just gone through says that in various ways, in a variety of ways.
So, real quick, here are some of the movies that have been at least greenlit or confirmed to be. They are either being made now, they've been greenlit, or the rights have been acquired and they are discussing it.
Okay.
So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is coming soon. I have seen promotional pictures of this film. They have made the dwarves CGI and they look terrifying.
Hi ho.
it's scary. Anyway, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, I think, is the one coming sooner rather than later. I know that Robin Hood has been greenlit
That
for,
should be interesting.
yeah, and it's going to be the foxes, the fox, like the proper Robin Hood that I love so much. That's the Robin Hood they're remaking. Like that. I figure it's going to be a photorealistic, but I don't know how you do that. I don't know how that's going to go. Maybe it'll be a little bit like The Lady and the Tramp, but nobody talks about The Lady and the Tramp. I legitimately forgot that one got made.
Yeah, and if you look at our
Um,
top 10 countdowns, again, we mentioned it before, Robin Hood's in
Robin
up
Hood's
there
up there. We
for
love
both of
Robin
us. We
Hood.
love that show.
But anyway, Robin Hood, uh, I think Sleeping Beauty might be getting another one.
Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch, thank you. Moana is getting a live action remake, and apparently Dwayne Johnson's coming back for it.
Yeah, we didn't even
Um,
talk about the Mulan live action remake.
we've not seen that
We
one.
haven't seen it, and those were films that we
Mushu
don't.
wasn't in it, so we don't really want to see it.
Yeah.
We love Mushu here. But those are some that I know are happening. Hunchback of Notre Dame, that is one. And that one I think might actually have a chance at being super good because it'll be live action, they might just be able to get a PG-13 rating.
Right.
And if they will, let me say this right. If they will have the guts to make it a PG-13 film, they will do that movie justice.
Yeah.
But they have to have the guts not to make it PG. They have I think Sword in the Stone has been talked about. I don't think anything's confirmed on it, but it's been talked about for sure.
That's one of those films that they might maybe actually do a better
kind of
job
like,
than the original
it's
anime.
kind
That
of like,
film
yeah.
was not great to begin with.
It was a little boring in
Yeah.
places, and they might be able to beef it up just a little bit. And then they've reacquired the rights to the Black Cauldron, which that leads us into the next bit I want to talk about: movies that could benefit from a live action remake.
Now, look, Disney, we've given you our opinions, and family at Crossing Kin, we've given you our opinions, but we do think that there is hope for live action remakes to be. We mentioned Sword in the Stone. I would get very excited. We love the Arthur legend around here.
Mm-hmm.
We would be, and that was a mediocre at best Disney classic. At best, that one with not even significant rewrites could be better.
Like,
So
put David Tennant as Merlin very easily. He could totally pull off Higginus Figgins. And just John Rice Davies as like the bad dad figure dude.
We could do a whole recast on that show just by itself. So.
But yeah, I agree. Sword in the Stone is one that would benefit from a live action remake. You and I have talked extensively about how Treasure Planet would benefit so much from a live action remake. And the beauty of it is a lot of those characters would have to be CGI. So they could actually get the original voice cast for the most part to come in and play particular parts if they didn't want to, like if they wanted to keep the good nostalgias about it.
Sure.
Because Treasure Planet is one of those that has grown a following since it first came out in 2002, 2003.
On my watch list.
Yes, it is. I've put it on his watch list. But Treasure Planet is one of those, and I think because of the strides that they've made with CGI, it would be so epic. I think it maybe needs a couple of little shoring up rewrites here and there just to kind of, prop it up a little bit and maybe extend it to 2 hours. And then another film from the early 2000s, again, Dad and I have spoken about this extensively, Atlantis: The Lost Empire. That is one that gets bandied about a ton for live action remake. Most people cast Tom Holland and Zendaya in the leads, and yes, that would be great. They would be a great Milo and Kita. And I can think of a dozen or more actors that would fill out the rest of the ensemble. I genuinely think Atlantis and Treasure Planet are on my list for what would benefit.
That's some of the problem too with Robin Hood. Mm-hmm. Roger Miller is dead.
Yeah.
The guy who played Baloo,
Little John.
And Little John, and I mean all of these Disney characters.
Phil
Harris.
Harris,
thank you. Phil Harris. All of these great great
Voice
voice
actors.
actors who are not with us anymore.
The
You
comparison would
expect
be there so
the
badly.
comparison would be so bad, and you would have to have a Will Smith coming into a Robin Williams type role to come anywhere close. I
Yeah.
mean, you just would.
You
And
would
I
need an
just
A-list actor in order to make it who loved the character.
I just think that there are more stories out there that Disney can invest its money in on for live action. The world is craving some of those great um, Kurt Russell type films from the 60s.
Mm.
Gus, again, we mentioned Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. Kurt Russell was a staple in the Disney family for many, many years. I think the world is craving those kinds of films. You see that
That
with
darn
the
cat.
success, that darn cat, beautiful. But those are some films that you could come along and remake relatively easy.
And nobody would really mind because
The Robert Downey Jr. Shaggy Dog
oh
movie
my,
was terrible.
technically that's Tim Allen, but Robert Downey Jr. was in it.
He was in it. Tim Allen was in it.
Was the good.
But there are films out there. Yeah, it's time for a new Love Bug movie. You
Her
know, there's a
and
new
not the Lindsay Lohan
you
one.
know, not Lindsay Lohan. I mean, there's time for there are great stories. We need Disney Imagineers back in
Mhm.
a terrible way. We need them in the directors' positions. We need casting directors. No, we don't need
No,
Imagineers
we've
there. We
already said
love
casting
your
directors
caster
doing a great
folks are
job.
doing a great job, but we need some of that creative energy that's in Star Wars right now
Mm.
to come over and bleed over into Disney.
Maybe.
I personally, my personal conviction is you really rarely will ever have a remake that will ever be as good and as beloved as the classic originals. You will still have people to this day talking about the fact that Lion King, when it came out on VHS, was the fastest selling VHS ever.
How many did you sell at
We sold
Hastings?
well over 1,000 here in Searcy, and we were the number one store in the company at that time for selling Lion King. Um, it just there are iconic things that you just should not mess with. You just shouldn't. And some of the animated classics are those things. I was never a fan of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I won't go and see the new one. I really was never a fan of Pinocchio. I'll never stream the new one.
You don't want to. Monstro's even more scary.
It's there's
I
just
only saw clips, but Monstro was enough to make me not want to see it.
it just makes me think that there are money people at the helm of Disney who only want to see the profitability and have lost Walt Disney's sense of imagination, creativity, of new stories or old stories even being told in a new way.
Mm.
Um, I I was shocked when The Greatest Showman wasn't a Disney thing. That is the kind of
No, it was Fox.
it was Fox.
Before
Disney
Disney bought Fox.
before Disney bought Fox. Disney has basically given over to all of these other production studios the thing that they are the most well known for.
Telling a story in a beautiful and imaginative way.
In a creative and utilizing technology, the best technology that they can. Let's face it, in 1938, when Snow White came out, yeah, 1938, the animation was something people had never seen before. Snow White introduced the modern motion picture soundtrack on 78s, granted, but that was still a release. Those 78s went into the top 10. It is there's something lacking at Disney right now that if they're
Passion?
not careful, that's one of them. Passion, just a desire for creativity, a desire for storytelling.
Mm,
I mean,
I
this
agree.
thing they've done on the Disney Channel to Winnie the Pooh is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And it's some of these properties that they're beginning to lose, that is coming into public domain now, that horror films are picking up on and
He's not
really
joking.
making it worse.
He's not joking. Steamboat Willie is getting a horror movie
Bambi
soon.
is getting a horror movie.
Winnie the
There's
Pooh already got
already
one.
been a
It's
Winnie the
awful.
Pooh horror movie.
I've seen clips. It's awful.
There are there are people in the horror industry who are being more creative than the folks that at Disney who created these properties.
Who made them beloved and endearing. If you would,
Our world needs more beloved and endearing. We don't need Bambi shooting hunters.
No.
So that is the point we take here at Crossing Ken.
So I think the conclusion we reached, we don't like the live action remakes. We don't hate them.
No.
Please don't get us wrong. We do not hate them. They exist. The live action remakes are things that exist, and they are wholly unnecessary.
Here's one of the things. They're not going to be on our watch list. They're going to be one of those things, if I don't have anything else to see,
and we're bored,
and we happen to trip into it, maybe, and it's raining,
and maybe just catch a clip. Like there are things I was more curious about. Like I wanted to. The only reason I watched Little Mermaid, I'll be quite honest, I watched Little Mermaid because I wanted to see if Melissa McCarthy pulled off Poor Unfortunate Soul, and she did. But I could have gone to YouTube to find that,
which I did. I saw all of Little Mermaid that I needed to, and Melissa McCarthy playing Ursula for Poor Unfortunate Soul, and it was delicious.
But we love Melissa McCarthy anyway, so but unnecessary that and passionless.
And
anyway, thank you for joining us for this kind of discussion. If you like this kind of discussion format, please let us know. There are a myriad of things that Dad and I will just sit and have car conversations about. But we're going to wrap it up. The garage is starting to kill us. So until next time from Crossing Ken, Disney, we wish you better. We wish you better in the future. We hope that you find some people that have a true passion for storytelling and for the films of your past as well as films for your future. We would love to see an original princess again. We would love to see a live action film that is not based off of one of your former properties. We want more, Disney. We want better. So please, from Crossing Kin, do better.
Bring Johnny Depp back for Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, that's the kind of example we're talking about.
Just give us better, Disney.
We expect more.
You are better than what you have given us lately.
That's a valid point.
So, from Crossing Kin, I'm Kristen.
From the sauna here at Crossing Kin, we thank you for being a part of the family, and you're always welcome. Let us know what you think. We may agree, we may not agree, but we're all still part of the family.
Until next time, he's Randy. I'm Kristen. Bye.
See ya.